we'll place it on our website just for if somebody else wasn't able to make it, they have the ability to go back and watch it. So we'll be recording all of our sessions. It doesn't necessarily mean that this session will end up because since we're doing two, we'll only put one on the one of each session on the website. So we don't want to clog up everybody's space on their computer by downloading the videos if they're watching. Before we start, I'm going to end the poll and show you the results. So you can see what the results were for your favorite activity in the rain. So it looks like reading a good book on the porch is the most popular. And then the second most popular is sitting on the porch and watching and listening to the rain. Two of my favorite things as well. So thanks for taking our poll. And I will stop it. So again, we welcome you here. For those who were here last night or yesterday morning, thank you for coming back. And we're going to do a little bit of a deeper dive into some of the things that we talked about yesterday. But just, we really welcome you to these sessions, and we hope that they're fruitful for you. And again, why are we here? Just as we said yesterday, and I'll say to those who didn't hear yesterday, is we're here because we know that the human touch of ministry is very important. And we know that we've been away from people during this time of pandemic, but we can still do the human touch of ministry even in the virtual world. When we get a little bit more comfortable with the techniques and the tools that we can use on our various platforms, we can then see how we can be more engaging with our people, which is why we're doing these. So it is important that we can have that human touch of ministry. The second is we want to invest in our people. We want to invest in you as leaders, and we want you to invest in your people as well. So providing good techniques and content is important for that connection. So we want to invest, because when we invest in you and you invest in your people, our diocese really benefits. So really, and our people are our greatest asset. So we really want to invest in our people. And third, we really want to create community. By being on these digital workshops, you're seeing people, you're meeting people, and you will be able to have some connections outside of these workshops to say, oh, if I have a question, oh, I know Desi was on that workshop. I could give her a call to ask, to see if she knows this question. Or so we are creating community here, but you're also going to be creating community in your parish. So that's why we're here. Those three things, that we really believe that we can do the human touch of ministry, even in a virtual world. We want to invest in our people, and we want to create community. So that's why we're here. And again, we welcome you, and we're glad you're here. And as we begin all things, we will begin with prayer. So I'll just give you a couple seconds to just really center yourselves, bring yourselves fully present, fully here. This morning I shared a song, one of my favorite songs with the team in our prayer, and it was Surely the Presence of the Lord, so that we know the presence of the Lord is in this place and he's with us all the time. So just to center ourselves in that thought. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Loving God, creator of all things, you call us to be in relationship with you and others. Thank you for calling us to be evangelizers, for the opportunity to share with others what you have given to each one of us. May all those with whom we share the gift of faith discover how you are present in all things. May they come to know you, the one true God, and Jesus Christ, whom you have sent. May the grace of the Holy Spirit guide our hearts and lips, so that we may remain constant in loving and praising you. May we be witnesses to the gospel and ministers of your truth. May all our words and actions reflect your love. And we ask all these things in your most precious name. Amen. Again, welcome all, and I'm going to pass it on over to Jessie, our colleague, and she's going to begin us with some etiquette in our agenda.
Morning, I'm Jessie Hubert. I'm Director of Faith Formation for Parish Support. I want to start by saying just welcome to all of you. I mentioned this yesterday in the 101 sessions. Wherever you are on the spectrum of comfortability with Zoom, we've prepared a place for you. We hope that you find your place here. And, you know, I appreciate the graciousness of some of the 101 folks who are going to get a little bit of review in the next 5 minutes. But after that, I promise it's new content. So I'm going to move us through a little bit of contexting from a big picture all the way down to the micro level. So what are our goals? What can you feel confident that you'll leave here with today? The first is just an awareness that we are doing these workshops about digital ministry for the purposes of evangelization. Think of it like this, that technology, Zoom, digital media, these are the languages that our people are speaking. And we're learning the vernacular of our people so that we can meet them where they're at. And especially young people who are doing this type of engagement with the world all the time, or working folks in white collar jobs who might be on Zoom all the time. I mean, there are big groups in our population who have a lot of competence in these areas of technology. So by us having the humility and the willingness to learn them a little bit better, we are better able to reach our people for that work of faith formation. So second goal is that wherever your comfort zone or your confidence level are today, our intention is that that will be expanded by the end of this day. And we're going to share really practical tools, things that you can implement even as early as this fall. And we're going to let you learn about a couple of different platforms, Zoom, Google Meet, and social media live technology, so you can figure out and discern what's the best for your people and for your program and their needs. And then the last piece is that we're going to teach you how to run high quality, high impact meetings. I'm sure a lot of us have the sense, and this is how I was too, that we can kind of get by. I know how to log in, but this is about being really high impact. Again, meeting folks who are where they're at, who are comfortable using this language of technology, so that we can really have a lasting impact in our ministry when we use these programs. And also we're going to talk about the ethics of these things as well, because child protection continues to be incredibly important. This is our agenda for today. I'm just going to breeze through it. We want you to get the sense that we're going to care for you and move through this day mindfully. It's not just going to be a bunch of dribble. There's a plan. So we're going to talk about Zoom and Google Meet and social media, then child protection. And today, so exciting, we get to do a little breakout room and hear from you as well. So that's basically the building blocks of our time together. I said yesterday, if we had a meeting in person, this would be the point where we say, if you need to get up and use the restroom, here are where the restrooms are. So talking a little bit about housekeeping and etiquette on Zoom are like the Zoom equivalent of where are your bathrooms. So Kate Wilson, again, give us a wave. Kate, she is available for general Q&A. We may be able to answer your questions right in the moment if you raise your hand or pop in. Or it might be better for us to save those questions and bank them for our Q&A time. We're just going to kind of watch the clock. So you can use your chat feature, and you see where the red circle is there, or keyboard shortcuts to get you to chat. And you can send Kate a message if you have any questions on our content to be sure we include in our Q&A. Mary Hicken, give us a wave, Mary. She is on deck for technical support. So if something funky happens with your audio or your video, Mary is your go-to gal, so definitely feel free to chat with Mary if you need any tech support. A little bit else about etiquette. For most of you, this is probably a refresher, but you know, the same way that when we're meeting in person, there are norms around what's etiquette and what's respectful. You know, make eye contact with the presenter. Don't speak while they're speaking. Silence your cell phone. We don't remind people of that at in-person meetings, but the etiquette of online meetings is still sort of evolving and developing. And for people who use this technology a lot, they know those things, but for people who are new to it, we have to learn it. So I'm just gonna run through these things quickly in case any of this is new to you. The first is, and I think everybody's done a great job with this so far, is mute unless you're speaking. We do want to hear from you. Your voice is important, but there will be designated times for that. It's a very practical thing that we can get feedback from the microphones. It can get a little crazy. So we ask you to mute unless you're speaking. Whenever we see your smiling face, we have to smile ourselves because we love you. So we value, for those of you who have the capability to show a video of yourself, to have your face on the screen. If not, that's okay. But the video just helps as a visual cue and reminder for us that we're all connected. But I know that our faith also teaches us that we're all connected. It's so fun. We have folks from all three vicariates of the diocese here. It's so good to be with you. Also, the flip side of that, be mindful that when your video is up, we can also see everything behind you. And I know we already talked about our awareness around that. Lastly, when we're in person, it's easy to get a read on nonverbal cues. Are people interested? Being able to read people's faces. Those things can be a little bit harder to do on Zoom, but we want to really encourage you to engage with us in those nonverbal ways. So Zoom has a feature called reactions, and you can see where that is there. And the easiest ones are the clapping reaction or the thumbs up reaction. So if you are feeling grateful for the opportunity to come together and learn, give me a thumbs up. If you're feeling a little tentative, but you're here anyway and you're going through your discomfort zone, give me an applause emoji. Thank you so much. This is a great chance to practice that. And it is really helpful for the presenters and for one another. It's a way to affirm that you're connecting with what people are saying. Last but not least, please multitask mindfully. So for a multitasker like me, I love Zoom because I can be watching and engaged, and I can be chatting somebody on the side, and I'm using my reactions. That's not everybody's comfort zone. And sometimes when we're multitasking, so if you see my face on the video and it looks like I'm typing, that might look like I'm being disrespectful. So it's important from etiquette.
And I can hear fine, so.
It's important that when we're together in Zoom, that we have a shared understanding that we encourage people to be multitasking in the context of the meeting. So definitely use the reactions, use the chat when you need to, and resist the temptation to have your email open in the back and to be, texting your best friend or those kinds of things. So, life happens. People are working from home. My son came in last night and kissed me goodnight in the middle of the meeting. So we understand those things when you have to multitask, but it's important to know how those things can come across as miscommunication on Zoom. So if you're going to multitask, do it mindfully. And we're so glad to have you here taking advantage of all of these things. So with that, I'm going to kick it over to Steve, and he's going to dive in and give us some more advanced options for Zoom. We're going to dive right into content today, huh? Steve.
Thank you, Jesse. And again, as you were arriving today, one of the features that's a deeper dive than we did yesterday is polling. And so when you arrived today, you were able to take a fun poll. And these are fun ways that you can connect with people. You can use it in fun ways, and also very educational ways. So I'm going to invite you to take another poll right now, because this poll is going to give us some information as we start this meeting, and it'll also give us some information when we end the meeting, because you'll be invited to take another poll. So I'm going to launch a poll, and I'll give you about a minute or two to finish or to take the poll, and then I'll show you the results, and then we'll do a little tutorial on polling, how to do polling. And again, this is where Mary Hicken is supposed to sing the Jeopardy song, but she always chickens out. We're up to 7 people. Okay. I'm going to end the polling, and then I'll share the results so you'll be able to see. And Sister Nancy is arriving, so we can all welcome her as well. So as you can see, this is the results of the poll that you just took. 75% of you say you know how to set a professional, engaging tone in an online video conference, which is very good. 92% of you said I have a basic understanding of child protection regulations regarding video meetings, and if I have questions, I know where to go. So those are the two highest percentages. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing the results, and I'll close the poll. So again, a poll is a nice way, an easy way to start engagement. As a matter of fact, today, after a long day yesterday, I did a poll for our team as we gathered. It's just like, how tired are you today? Foggy, hazy, you know, my face is here, but my brain is not. Those types of things. It's just a fun way to say how we check into a meeting. So I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to watch it's a 2-minute video from Zoom talking about polling, and then we'll come back and answer any questions you may have about that.
Hey everyone, Farah from Zoom here. On this short video, we're going to review polling for your in-meeting experience or your virtual classroom. As the host, you can see that I already have a polling button built into the toolbar along the bottom. And when I click this will give me the ability to launch any polls that I've already set up between world history and US presidents in this example. When I'm ready to launch this poll for my class, I'll click Launch Poll button. And then I'll be able to keep track in real time as my participants are responding to the poll. So we can see here we have 2 questions basically around some of the wars from previous centuries. And we can see as the responses start coming in, I can see 2 out of 7 people have responded. And there's a timer up top too. So I can tell everybody this is a pop quiz. We have 10 more seconds for you to get your answers in. And then once those answers are completed, I can click End Poll. And we'll just go with what we have here. And so I can see that 60% of my class said 1914 for World War I, and that also 60% said Otto von Bismarck. What I can do from here is share the results to the class so they can see what the results are as well. And although this doesn't tell me who answered what, I can pull the report after the meeting has concluded to actually see who in my class responded correctly to the answer. When I click Stop Sharing, I will have the opportunity to relaunch the poll. It's very important to note here that if you relaunch a poll, it starts it from scratch, starts it from 0, and there's no way to pull that report from the first poll that you launched. So please keep that in mind. Now I've pre-created this poll. I've already added it from directly from the website. I'll share the web page here so you can see where you can find polling. From any meeting you've already scheduled, all you need to do is scroll to the bottom of the page to see any polls you've already created. You can edit them here, and you can also add additional polls here. Hope this video was helpful and gets you off to the right foot starting polls with your classrooms or your in-meeting experience. If you have any other questions, please check out our support page at support.zoom.us and have a great day. Thanks, everyone.
So that was the little video on Zoom that spoke about polling. We will send you the link to those videos. So that any of the videos that we will be showing today, we will send you the link so that you'll be able to go back and watch them again. But just a couple things on polling. So polling is, the host is the one that's able to do polling, and you have to have a few people in your meeting to be able to do a poll. So just to know that the host is the one that can create and launch the poll. If you make a co-host, the co-host can launch it, but they can't edit the poll. So, so that's, as you're creating your meetings and things, you can pre-populate a poll, just as she was talking about how you can go back and pull a report. You could also go to that meeting that's set up and create a poll before your meeting starts. So it's ways that you can use the technology to engage people as they're coming in. So, so it's kind of a fun way, and you can use this in your pre-assessments and post-assessments. So even in a religious education class, you know, you can say, name the 4 gospels, and you can you know, see who knows those, and then do it like before the class starts, do that, and then after the class ends, see if you've moved the needle on those questions. So poll is a very easy tool to use in terms of engaging your class. And again, I would use it in fun ways as well. like check in with people. How are they arriving? How was their weekend? You know, those types of things. So, so polls are a fun and easy way you can do that. Any questions on polling?
Can you do a poll off the cuff, like if you decide, oh, I wanna, did you say that? I might have missed it.
So doing a poll off the cuff, when you are going to add a poll, you could probably go at any time and create a poll, but you're going to take you would then need to take the time to write the question and then all of the answers down. So it would take you time to do that. So if your class was in a breakout session or there were doing a period of things that you as the host had a couple free minutes, you would be able to create a poll. But it's usually before you start the meeting, unless you have the time, as I said, if you have the time in the meeting.
So on the host screen, when we are running our meetings, is there a place where we can just go over and quickly click on a poll, just bring it up easily?
Yes. So, and that's a good question, Samantha. And you can save every poll you do, and they will be in your menu when you go back for polling. So at the bottom of your screen, you have the option for polls. When you click on that, it's going to give you one poll, but there's a little drop-down arrow. If you click on the drop-down arrow, all of your polls will come up, and you can select the one that you would like to launch. Any other questions on polling? Okay, for the next thing, I'm going to do a share screen, and we'll look at the sharing screen option. Sharing screen option is the one thing that's important, and Jesse might have been giving me a little note here, that when you share your screen, you'll click on the green share screen icon at the bottom of your screen, and you'll get to a screen that says, as a picture, which screen do you want to share? So there could be your whiteboard. There's an option for a whiteboard. There's an option for what you would like to share in terms of a file or a video. But the important thing is, if you're going to share a video or song or things like that, there's two options at the bottom of the first screen you click on that say share computer sound and optimize screen sharing for video clips. You want to click those things and then slide over to the right, and a blue share word will come up, and that will be it enables the people to be able to hear the content and see the content that you're sharing. So I'm going to demonstrate that now.
Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel.
Sorry, my computer just shut down, and so here I am back. I just turned it back on. So was everybody able to hear the song and see the words? So it's because I clicked those two things: share computer sound and optimize my screen sharing for video clips. I'm going to now invite us to watch another Zoom video on sharing your screen, and it's going to go all the way into how we can share our screens and things that we can do with that. So I'll see you in a second again. Sorry, I don't have a video on the share screen. It's just what I've done here. The next thing will be on the whiteboard. But any questions on sharing your screen? Just clicking the little icon at the bottom, the green icon, clicking the two options, share computer sound, optimize your screen, click the blue share. Yes, Daria.
One question, every single time you, every single time you brought up a different screen, quiet Mike, my screen minimized and shrank down to nothing. I had to go to the taskbar again to pop it up. Is there something I could do to keep that from happening?
I don't, does anybody know from the team?
I think what the auto feature is for when someone shares their screen, your Zoom becomes full screen. And so you can't see if you have other tabs open or your email open or other things in the bottom, you can't see that. But when that happens, if you hover in the top right corner of your Zoom window, it will give you an option to exit full screen and it will shrink it down to a smaller size so that you can see other things on your desktop again.
Right,
Or
but
another
I mean, is
shortcut
everything,
for that. Oh, sorry. Another shortcut for what Jesse said is if you just click the escape button too on your keyboard, it will take you out of that full screen as well.
right. My problem is the full screen disappeared. The whole I have no other tabs up. Every time Steve's video started to pop up, boom, it just all went away. I had to go to the taskbar, find it, click to get things to come back. And I'm just picturing that being annoying for families if that happens with their computers, but it didn't happen to the rest of you. So maybe that's a quirk of my computer. Okay.
We'd be happy to
Write
work
these
with
questions
you.
down though, Daria.
Yeah. We'd be happy to work with you and kind of figure out what's going on with that, because that is annoying and it would be really hard to run a meeting with that happening.
Right. Okay.
One of the other options when you're sharing your screen is the possibility to use the whiteboard. I was going to demonstrate how we were using the whiteboard, but it wouldn't show when I was sharing my screen, it wouldn't show the taskbar that I was using. So it really wasn't going to give you a really good picture of that. So I did find another tutorial that shows how they use all those tools. And then at the end of that video, Jesse's going to show how we could use a document where when we're having a meeting, we can pull up a document and take notes and minutes as we're going. So she's going to demonstrate that after the video.
In this Zoom tutorial for beginners, you'll learn how to share your whiteboard on Zoom, how to use the Zoom annotation tools, and how to use your iPad as a Zoom whiteboard. Let's get started. You can test out the whiteboard on Zoom feature in a dummy meeting. So let's create a new meeting. So how to share whiteboard on Zoom? Well, first you want to click the share screen button. This will bring up a number of options, but you'll be wanting to click the whiteboard. And here at Level Up Your Video Skills, I've created a whole playlist on Zoom tutorials, including a full guide on all of the share screen options, which you can check out in the video here. So let's share the Zoom whiteboard by first clicking on it here and then clicking the share button. And here we are inside the whiteboard. This is how to use Zoom for teaching. It's great if you're teaching classes and want to demonstrate something that your words alone couldn't describe or even written text. Inside the online whiteboard on Zoom, you've got a number of options in the formatting panel. You can type in text, do some drawing. There's a few different options here. Stamps. We've got a spotlight for if you want to highlight certain things. Of course, an eraser. You can change the colors and width of your line, plus formatting options for your text, and then a classic undo and redo feature. Or to just clear everything, you can hit that. At any point during a whiteboard presentation, you can hit the Save feature, which will save to your desktop and come back to it later. Now you're all experts on how to use the whiteboard in Zoom. Next, we'll learn how to use the Zoom annotation tools. And to do that, I've invited another dummy participant into the meeting and have some sample text there. So let's go up to the menu screen up the top, choose More, and now you have a number of options. Specifically with the annotation tools, we have Enable Attendee Annotation and Show Names of Annotators. So let's click Enable Attendee Annotations. And now, if my guest wants to annotate on my whiteboard, they can do that on their computer by clicking View Options and then selecting Annotate. This will bring up the same control panel I have here on their computer, and they can interact with writing or drawing or putting stamps on or any of the things I showed you before. For collaboration purposes, maybe you've got a few different people annotating on your whiteboard and you want to be able to see who it is. To make that happen, again come up to the menu screen and click Show Names of Annotators. And now when my guest annotates, I can see it pop up like that. Let's say you're teaching a class in a Zoom meeting or giving a presentation and you're using the whiteboard. If you want to learn how to stop people from writing in your Zoom whiteboard, then it's just a matter of coming up and disabling attendee annotation. Righto, a quick note on saving your whiteboards. If I were to stop sharing this or go into a breakout room and start a new whiteboard, this one wouldn't be saved unless I click Save every time. So if you don't want to lose any of that information, make sure you hit the Save button. Last of all, if you want to keep this whiteboard session but create a new one, you can just hit New Whiteboard and write in that one, and then you can come back to the first one at any time. Here's a bonus tip on how to use Zoom Whiteboard on your iPad, Android or tablet. You can connect via cable or in my case via AirPlay because I have an Apple device. Click Share. To learn the steps on this, check out the video I mentioned earlier about how to share screen on Zoom, which is here again. For now, I'll just follow the on-screen prompts. And now here's my iPad, so I can go ahead and use it as a whiteboard as I mentioned earlier. Not the world's tidiest handwriting, but you get the idea. That about wraps it up for today's video, so I hope you learned something on how to use the whiteboard in Zoom. And
So that's how to use the whiteboard and a little bit on annotation. And then Jesse's going to demonstrate how we can use a document in one of our meetings.
Hi everyone, this is one of my favorite things. The team knows that I'm a little bit nerdy about my note taking. So when we're having a visioning or a collaboration session over Zoom, and as you can see, I'm working from home, Deacon Steve's in the office, we might all be in different places, but we really want to capture that sense of if we were in a room together and we had a chalkboard or a whiteboard to capture all of our ideas, how do we have a running visual reminder of what we've talked about? So it's pretty easy when we are, so this is me sharing my screen. I'm sharing on a Word document, and I can be typing in real time about the things that we're talking about. So Deacon Steve, tell me again, what was the name of the video, the song that you played for us for prayer this morning?
Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
That's right. So you can see that this is a place that that is really useful for collaboration. So when you're teaching or if you're doing a small group session with adults and you ask a question like, shout out some answers of where God has been in your week, and you want to be able to capture that visually, you could be typing that in a shared screen and just in a Word document so that other people can be seeing. And then if you wanted to go really crazy and give people annotation opportunities, you could say, now circle all of the places that people found God this week where that's also a place that's sacred for you too, right? So you can build in the same level of interaction as you could if you were physically in a classroom with a whiteboard, with everybody having their own marker, or with a teacher at the front instructing and writing things down for the class. So we need to keep moving a little bit on that, but we are happy. If you have any questions, please send them to Kate on any of those screen share functionalities, and we will get back to them at the end of the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. So those were the some deeper dives in Zoom, polling, screen sharing, and whiteboard and annotation. So now I'm going to kick it over to Mary, who's going to talk a little bit about the applications on Google Meet. Mary?
Good morning again.
I wanted to just give you one little application for Google Meet. Because we talked about it yesterday and last night, it is an option that is has a little bit longer meetings, and it's free for up to an hour instead of 40 minutes. So we wanted to show you how to do the screen sharing on Google Meet. So in the beginning, it tells you that it's best on Google Chrome, so it's kind of a little commercial for 10 seconds about Google Chrome. So just ignore that because it will work on any browser that you're using. So I am going to show you another little video, and then we'll come back and I have a couple tips for you.
In this video, we will cover how to share your screen during a Google Meet. First, for the best results, make sure you're on Google Chrome. If you're unsure how to download Google Chrome, refer to our knowledge base article, which is linked in the description below. Once you're on Google Chrome, navigate to this screen. You can get to this screen by joining the meeting. If you have any questions on how to do this, please refer to our other video, How to Join a Meeting with Google Meet. First, we will show you how to share your screen while also sharing your audio. Once you are at the screen, click Join Now to join the call. Once you have joined the call, simply click Present Now in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. From here, you can select your entire screen or a window, just like before. An additional dialog box will appear for either option you have selected. If you have clicked a window, simply select which window you would like to share and then click Share. If you have selected your entire screen, select the single window given and then click Share. Now you will begin sharing your screen. From here, you will be able to see on the call that you are presenting your screen. To stop sharing your screen is the same way as before. Just click Stop Sharing. From here, you can either present your screen again, stay in the call, or leave the call. Next, we will show you how to share your screen without sharing your audio. Once you are to this screen, click Present. If you click Present, you will be prompted with a dialog box. You can either share your entire screen or a given window. Once you have your desired option, click Share. Now you will begin sharing your screen. A small dialog box should appear in the center at the bottom of your screen, indicating that you are now presenting some form of your screen in the call. This dialog box can be moved anywhere on the screen so it can be out of your way. To stop presenting, click Stop Sharing on the small dialog box. From here, you will be returned to the Chrome tab that has your call open, and if you so wish to, you could begin presenting your screen again, stay in the call, or leave the call. Now you should have everything you need to know to present your screen in a Google Meet. If you have any additional questions, please contact ITS.
Okay, so it's pretty simple. It's pretty easy, just like the Zoom one. You can share tabs on your internet pages. You can share your documents or your whole screen. You share your documents pretty much the same way Jesse was. So if you want to take notes while you're doing your screen sharing, then everybody can see your notes. They do not have a whiteboard option though. There are options out there that you can, an app you can use. You can share your screen and go to the app and use whiteboards, but they don't have an actual whiteboard in Google Meets. So they also have, I wanted to let everybody know that there are keyboard shortcuts for all of the things that we're talking about today. We will send you the list of all the keyboard shortcuts for people who prefer not to use a mouse, who would rather use their keyboard. But it was too difficult to try and get them all wound in today at one time and have the session actually end on time. So, and if you have any questions about them or want to go over them one by one, I'm more than happy to deal with you one-on-one and try it and work your way through some of these keyboard shortcuts instead of mouse use. So, but I did want to give you a tip. Before you open your meeting and get set up, you want to open the tab that you're supposed to use for your sharing your screen and leave everything else off. Anything you don't want anybody to see on your computer, shut that document down. Because if you click on it accidentally, now you're sharing documents that maybe you don't want everybody to see. So have your tab or your document open and ready to go when you're sharing so that you can click on that immediately. Some of you who were here last night saw a couple little flubs I had with sharing my screen. I had the wrong document up, and it will happen to everyone, but this will help you minimize that possibility of that happening. Now, when you're sharing a Google Meet screen, up in the corner, you'll be able to see yourself and you'll be able to see a small square of the presentation. But generally, you don't see what you're sharing with people as easily as you do on Zoom. So you have to click on that presentation, and then it will come up and show you what you're sharing with people on your screen. So Deacon Steve is going to talk about another feature that Zoom has that we do not have on Google Meet. It's called breakout rooms, and we cannot use those on Google Meet yet. However, the paid version is working on some of that, so they will be available pretty soon. It's something that they're working on, but they're still in development. So the only other thing is if you want to upgrade for some of the other features of Google, you have to pay, of course, and you can go into a version they call Google Suites. They offer some better tools than the free ones, but it's the same as Zoom in that respect, that the more you pay, the better the tools are, and the longer your meetings are, and the more people you can invite. So, okay, does anybody have any questions about Google Meet and the screen sharing? All right, well, I guess I'm going to kick this back over to Kate and Jillian then. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Mary. I don't know about you all, but I'm a real context girl. So just to kind of give us some bearings in today, first we started with neat little features of Zoom that can help you form a community. So how can you really be interactive on Zoom? Then Mary shared a little bit on how can you really be interactive on Google Meet. But there's another platform that people are already on that can be very interactive. In fact, it was designed for community long before we ever had a COVID-19, and that's social media. And I'm a data girl. I geek out about data. So what I wanted to do was share some data with you. But I'm not just going to tell you, you are going to have to guess. And then I'll tell you if you're right or wrong. But what I'd like you to do right now, and you can totally commit to this, right? I want you to write down number 1 and then tell me how many billion people worldwide you think use social media daily. But I'm not going to just make you pick a number because that's just too hard for 10 o'clock in the morning or 11 o'clock, whatever time it is now. So on the side in blue, you'll see answer options. So I just want you to match. There are 5 answer options. I'm not being a cruel teacher. Just match it up as best as you can. Nobody's going to see your answer. I'm going to give you maybe a minute and a half to look at that and see how close you can get. All right, your 30-second warning, but don't freak out. And we're gonna get started. Jesse, I'm gonna ask you to advance the slide. You'll see all of the answers written in there. If you didn't have time to answer all of them, that's fine. I just wanted you to be able to think about it a little bit. So how many billion people worldwide use social media daily? 3.5. And just to put that in perspective for you, that's 45% of the entire world's population, including like Africa that doesn't have electricity, like parts of Africa that don't have electricity. The whole world's population, 3.5 billion. And this statistic was from before COVID. So some people tend to use social media a little bit more or get introduced to social media when that's a main way of communication. And I've got to tell you, 45% of the world's population is already in this place, which is really neat, because if you think about evangelization and how we reach out to people and how we share the love of Jesus with others, like a long time ago, people would go to a street corner where folks were walking, or they would go to a country where maybe people haven't met Jesus yet, or they would talk to their friends out on the street or in each other's home, because that's where people were. Where are people now? They're on social media. We don't have to get them there. They're already there, which is kind of exciting. The average social media consumer, period, average worldwide, is on social media networks for an average of 3 hours per day, which is crazy. A lot of times we think it's only Gen Z on social media. And in a way, that's true. 95% of generation Gen Z, so the folks who don't remember 9/11, but they're younger than millennials, they own a smartphone or have the use of a smartphone, and they use it for more than 5 hours a day. But if you can switch that around, 68% of United States adults are on Facebook regularly. So that's not, Gen Z is not adults. 68% of Gen Z adults. And if you want to just look at baby boomers, that's 48% of baby boomers who are regularly on social media. So what does this mean for us? This means that people are used to a kind of connection electronically that's based on a story, that's based on connection and getting to know other people. And so if you got one of them correct, can you just give me a thumbs up? If you got 2 to 3 correct, can you give me a clap hand or clap in person? Yay, awesome. I'm seeing some folks. Great. And then if you got 4 or 5 and you just totally rocked this piece, just, I don't know, give me a thumbs up now that all the other thumbs up have fallen down. Awesome. Great job, you guys. So thanks for playing along, but I hope that also gives us a little bit of context as to why being on social media or using the platform of social media, which may not be as intuitive as Zoom or Google Meets, Google Meet without the S, is an important step, an important place to learn how to be. I'm going to pass it over to Jillian, who's going to give us the ins and outs of ways to connect or ways to get our message out on Facebook and on Instagram. These are 2 places that you're going to have the largest audience. And then we'll come back to say, okay, well, how do we actually write the story? We know how to get the story out, but how do we actually get the content onto these platforms? So Jillian, it's all yours.
Thanks, Kate. So if you all remember our last regional meeting when we actually got to go out and about throughout the diocese in March was on social media. And so some of this content that Kate said may sound a bit familiar. And what I'm about to say will too, but we're specifically going to apply some of the things that we talked about in just pure commenting in March to now the world of Facebook and Instagram Lives. Because when we're talking about, well, how do I do catechesis or evangelization or community building within my own parish or organization, how do I do that on social media? The best way to do that is via Facebook and Instagram Lives, which we didn't get to talk about a lot in March. And so this has really come along in the sense of being able to reach out to people. What's a platform that a lot of people are on already that I don't have to say, please create this account or that account. And we know that that's Facebook primarily. Most people that use social media are on Facebook and or Instagram, which is where you get the crossover of millennials. Millennials are on both platforms, and then Gen Z, which if you're curious about those dates, Gen Z are basically people born from about 1995 to about 2015. And where we're getting that date now, it's just recently that they put an end date on there, is because they're saying that 4 and 5-year-olds that are born right now are not going to have a very good memory of the coronavirus pandemic. You know, it wouldn't have impacted their life on a grand scale. For those who are above the ages of 4 and 5 right now, I mean, this is really a generation defining moment, right? These moments of lockdown and stuff like that. So when we're looking at Gen Z, we're looking at those who are 1995, 1996, born around there, to now our 4 and 5-year-olds. So that's that whole generation in a breath there. So let me return back though to talking about Facebook and Instagram Lives. How do I take some of the principles we used in March and apply these to creating really engaging live interactions? I think the biggest temptation when we're on Facebook Lives or Instagram Lives is to just talk at, you know, and it's like, how do I avoid just talking at people for if it's 10 minutes or 20 minutes? How do I make that an engaging experience? Well, some of the things that we heard back in March that are going to help us kind of lock this down right now are 4 things: likes, shares, comments, and tags. Likes, shares, comments, and tags. And so right now on your screen, you're seeing the basic Facebook Live interaction. All right, this is the platform where you would see. Now, you could see that there's our helpful arrows there that are going to take us along here. So number 1, likes. You know, there are certain algorithms and certain engagements, we would say, with if it's a post, meaning something that's just a picture or text, or a live, that are the same thing. And so we're going to go from the least engagement that you could do from the most. And what happens is when you engage in these ways, Facebook has these lovely algorithms where if you engage, then it's going to boost it to show up on more people's pages, if that makes sense. So if I like something, it's going to say, oh, Facebook's going to say, oh, wow, people enjoy this. You know, we should make this appear more often on people's feeds. And so liking is the least threshold, but it's better than nothing. And so we care about likes. We care about reactions is another terms we use with these on Facebook, because as you know now, there's more than just the thumbs up like. As you can see, there's hearts, there's angry faces, sad faces. My favorite one right now is the caring one, the caring reaction. So anytime, I'm just saying as a good practice of how do I evangelize in the 21st century, is anytime you see a post from your parish or an organization you care about, minimally like or react to it, because that will get it out there more and more. Now, how do I incorporate this into doing a Facebook Live? How do I apply this? Well, here's a couple things that you can do during your Instagram and Facebook Live. And Instagram has likes too, so this applies there as well. So when I'm going through something, say I'm describing, you know, Peter walking on water, and you know that moment of doubt, or that moment of, oh, I got out of the boat and I'm being brave. And I could say to those that are listening to this, like if you've ever felt that way. So like or react if you've ever felt that way. And then I should get a couple people liking and reacting. And that's in a natural, you could see, organic kind of response fashion. Another way you could do that during a live to get people to like or respond is say, hey, can I get a like if you understand what I'm saying right now? Can I get a like if that makes sense? So you can use it as a simple, as we're doing kind of in the Zoom world of the thumbs up or the clap, you know, you're just calling out for this. Hey, can I get a like for this, or a reaction for this? And that will not only, again, help interaction, but boost your post so that gets out there to more and more people on Facebook and Instagram. All right, so we just did likes. The second thing is shares. And shares are that lovely little swooping arrow you see at the far right-hand corner of the screen. So sharing enables, so if someone's watching this and they share it then to their personal page, or they can share it to a friend's page, then they don't have to go on your parish's page or your organization's page to then see that video. They'll actually share it, see it in more places, being on other people's pages. So one way that you can apply the shares technique to get interaction and build community online is when you're going through, say you're doing your Bible study group, or, you know, a close-knit, your youth group, a close-knit group of people that you know who's supposed to be there and showing up to these things. And you notice there's somebody absent, they're not there, and you don't know why. And you just say, hey, you know, I noticed so-and-so isn't here right now. Hey, I know you're friends with them. Can you share this video to their page so that they know this is happening right now? And so that's a way that you're getting a share, which is, again, in the algorithm of Facebook of engagement, that's greater than a like. And so now you're sharing it to someone else's page, and that's going to appear on their page, and all their friends are going to see it. So you're creating a greater circle of influence here. Again, evangelizing. Another way that you can prompt a share is, you know, you can invite, just be very transparent with those that are there. You know, we're going to enter into a great practice of evangelization that we can do right now. And so I'm going to ask you to share this video on someone's page afterward who you think would need it. So maybe you're doing a topic on anxiety, or you're doing a topic on a certain Bible scripture or passage. And it's like, hey, can you share this on someone's page that you really feel needs this message today? You know, that really could benefit from that. And maybe as you're sharing on their page, put in the comments, you know, thought of you, loving for you, praying for you, right? So invite your students, adults, young adults, who's ever there, in these practices of evangelization, and explain that to them. You know, I think a lot of times we use this word evangelization, and it just is so vague and so, it's like, how do I do this? And how do I apply this to my life? I can't go like Peter and Paul and just walk around and say, would you like to know Jesus, when no one knows him? And in our world today, a lot of people on a surface level, right, might know Christianity or Jesus, but how do I live those practices of evangelization? So we just went through likes, sharing, and let's go through comments next. So commenting is what I say is king. That's the thing that Facebook and Instagram love the most. When people comment, it says people are really invested in this content, and we're going to share this as much as we can, then, is what Facebook and Instagram say. So how do I prompt comments in my lives, in my Instagram and Facebook lives? So I love to do, when I'm doing a live, is kind of bookend my experience with comments. So at the beginning of the live, for instance, I'll ask a very low threshold question, which in our Catholic youth ministry world, right, we call those icebreakers, which people love or hate, right? It's the polarizing thing. But do an icebreaker at the beginning. Again, a low threshold question. One of my favorites is, write who your favorite superhero is. Or if you could have one superpower, what would it be? Or what is your favorite parable that Jesus said, right? Ask a very low threshold question. And someone doesn't have to write a paragraph for it to get that comment to get a boost, in the Facebook world. They could just write one word. And I would encourage you then to apply whatever that question is to the content you're going to teach, right? Incorporate it in there. But that's at the beginning, ask that low threshold question. I think recently, if you've been seeing, Father Polinek and I have been doing promo live videos for our new young adult ministry Samuel groups in the diocese. And the question at the beginning that got the most responses at all ever was, who is my role model? Who is my role model? And people were just posting just beautiful names from past teachers to clergy to sisters, their parents, just beautiful stories that we could all just really connect to. So that threshold question doesn't need to be a throwaway. That's what I'm saying. Do a question that you can really incorporate into what you're going to be sharing about the faith that day. And then again, I said bookends. So that's the beginning. And at the end, and there's obviously ways throughout the middle of it you can generate comments, but at the end, have a prayer experience, right? Do a Lectio Divina, read a passage, share one word that is really connecting with you today, or ask for prayer intentions. Before we enter into prayer, does anyone have any intentions? Can you please write those down? And all those comments are going to get you boosted on social media, and it's going to appear in more and more places. That video will, and it's going to get, even if it's not more places, have you ever logged on to Facebook or Instagram? You're like, how is this at the top of my feed? Like, why are they putting that there, that video or picture there? It's because of the comments, the likes, the reactions that it's getting. All right. And so that's how we engage in evangelization now. The last thing I want to talk about, so we did likes, shares, comments, and now we're going to talk about tags. We really didn't talk about these in March, so this is kind of newer content here. But a tag is when in that comment box, you put the @ symbol right there, and then you start to type in someone's name or a restaurant or your parish. Thanks, Jesse. So you can see at the bottom here on this one, I typed in @ and I wrote in Dio, right? And then it pops up for me all the pages that I like or don't like. I don't like Dior, just I don't know why that popped up there, just to be transparent. But you can see that Facebook, right, has an algorithm where it's like, oh, maybe you like this based off of other posts you like and whatever. It's very intuitive, which can be scary, but also, you know, in our world, in our context, let's use this for Jesus, you know? So I typed in Dio, and I can tag then Diocese of Erie, which means if I do that, it's gonna alert the Diocese of Erie Facebook page, hey, you were tagged into this post. And so if I was a regular person, say they tagged, you know, Jillian Zazik, that would compel me to go look at the post, wouldn't it? If you were tagged in something and you got a notification, like, oh, I'm gonna go look at this. So for instance, a great way, it's like, well, how can I tag someone? Where would that seem natural? You can tell someone, hey, tag someone who you think would need this video today instead of sharing it on their page. That could be a way. Or for instance, when I did that role models question earlier, hey, tag your role model. You know, who is your role model, and tag them and write why. And then it's going to alert that person, whoever they are, that, oh, I was tagged in this post. And then they'll read that comment. Hey, so-and-so is my role model because they've made a huge impact in my life. And wouldn't it be great for someone who's maybe not an active, you know, Catholic or even a part of our faith to go on there and see on one of our posts, wow, like I'm really cared for, and I'm kind of being called out in this community as a role model of someone who really admires me. And then they might comment on there, you know, saying, oh, thank you so much or whatever. And so then you're generating more responses, more comments, more likes, more interactions. And so that's what tagging does. Another way to do that instead of tagging a person is to tag a location. So maybe a threshold question at the beginning is, you know, what's your favorite restaurant to eat, and to tag them, you know? And so then they're tagging these local places or national places, your students or adults. But again, that is creating more and more connection, more and more places where Facebook, Instagram is going to want this to show up. All right. So these are some just tools and tips. Again, I know in March we talked about applying likes and shares and comments to just regular posts, but in Facebook Lives, that's how we can engage with our people and evangelize just as much as we could in a regular post. So I'm going to actually kick this over to Kate, and she's going to be talking about now those posts. So when you post your texts or pictures, you know, what do I write on my parish's or organization's page to get the most interaction and the most investment for people reading and looking? So I'm going to now give this back over to Kate.
Thanks, everyone. I just have to applaud you for the number of really good questions that have been coming in. On other meetings, I've been sitting here kind of like able to listen and engage, but this time I'm like, oh my gosh, the chat box is blowing up. So A+ to you all for being really engaged. But today, the content of those posts, Jillian really emphasized it's got to be interactive, right? But also the whole idea is to get a good message out, but also social media is a place of engagement and story. And sometimes that can feel like a strange thing to us. We can say, oh my gosh, everything has to be a story. But I'd like you to sit and think for just a moment about how much in your life actually is story. Our conversations are stories. You'll never believe what happened to me today. How was your day today? It's all story-based. Even when you go back to the caveman, right? They didn't say buffalo, 400 pounds. They have stories in pictures on the cave wall. Stories are a part of who we are. So when we use social media, it's important to come with the idea that we're not using it as a distribution mechanism. It's not like a bulletin for us. It's not like a board where people go for just straight up information or straight up messages. It's a place to share story. So what does that look like? Jesse, I'm going to ask you to advance the slide. Thanks so much. Story-based social media is critical. Any social media post that you have should have a deliberate purpose, should have a message that you're trying to share. And a lot of times it should be a message that's coming from what you know your people need. So you've heard their story and you know that they need a certain message. Deacon Steve today used the tired poll for us as a sense of community and just being able to laugh at ourselves. And, you know, we can move through that. He knew us. So the message that he was giving us was, it's okay to be tired and we're going to do this thing together and it's going to be great. So first, you need a great message. Second, if you can take that message, it's even better to convey it in the context of a story. So don't just tell me Jesus loves me. Tell me a story that's going to help me understand that. And if you do that and you want to up your game even more, it's even better than that. It's the best to have that message in a story with a personal connection. What's that look like? Well, I'll give you an example. How many of you, and you can just unmute yourself and just shout it out, but how many of you remember a specific Christmas Eve weather event? And if you do, just shout it out.
A lot of snow.
Sister Nancy, I think we're thinking of the same year.
I think it was Christmas of 2015, I want to say.
Something. It was like the 5-foot year.
Yes.
Anybody else?
I remember our first Christmas, so it would be our first Merry Christmas, 1983. That was another big snowy Christmas, and Vicki and I were the only ones able to get to our family's houses. We got to my grandmother's, we got to mine in our little car, and Vicki was expecting too, so everybody's like, what are you doing? But that was another great Christmas memory.
I remember that year too, Steve, because we were officially announcing our engagement that year and we weren't there. But so they did it without us. But that also was a Christmas when we had 22 people in my parents' house for about 4 days, and thank God for Trivial Pursuit. Not have lived through it if we did not have that game. So I remember that year very well.
Oh my God.
That's funny, Steve and Sheila. That was the same year that I remembered, because I had to drive a friend to the airport in Cleveland, and as I was driving back to Erie, they were closing all the exits behind me as I went along. So I was lucky to get back to Erie.
That's awesome. Watch what I just did there. That was a low threshold question that got you emotionally involved. And the story started flowing. Nobody just said it was the winter of 1985. Is that what you said?
3.
Dates are awful for me. Thanks.
1983.
So they weren't just like, oh, it was 1983, done. It was like, and that time I needed to announce my engagement, or we traveled around and we were pregnant, or whatever. So that's the first piece. But then there was this one Christmas. It was actually a long time ago. It was just at the turn of the century, and there was a gentleman whose family was quite devout, but he really didn't feel connected to God at all. And it was Christmas Eve, and it was kind of a nasty night, and his family decided to go to the Christmas Eve services, but he decided he was going to stay at home. And as they left, the weather started picking up, just like those crazy days that we experienced, and the wind started howling, and all of a sudden he heard this tink against the window, and he saw that a bird had flown into the window, and it was ridiculous for a bird even to be out on this night. And he recognized that if he didn't get that bird inside, the bird was not going to make it through the night. So he went outside and he tried to shoo the bird into the barn, but the bird was afraid of him, and so it flew away. And he decided, okay, well, maybe I'll get like something big to kind of shoo it better toward the barn. And he tried a bunch of different things, but what he realized eventually was that the bird did not trust him, and he couldn't communicate to the bird that safety was this way. And all of a sudden that night, the church bells rang, and he realized that someone else couldn't communicate. And so Jesus became a little baby, a human, so that human persons could understand what God was trying to say, that he was trying to save us, and that we could trust him and follow his directions, even though sometimes they seem scary. So there we have a message, Jesus loves me, but it's in the context of a story. The neat part of the story is that that gentleman decided that night that was a moment where he could start to learn a little bit more about God. He became a man of faith, and that's why my family now has a history of being Catholic for an extended period of time. That history of faith is strong in our family. Watch what happened. I did a story or a message in a story, but then there was a personal connection. That particular story, I have to say I made up the part about my grandpa, but right there, you have stories all around you of people that you know and people that your folks know that that connect with each other. So think about the stories that you know that have an important message in them, and highlight those stories. Highlight those people who are living their faith. This is what we sometimes call witnessing colloquially, but on social media, it's a great place to start sharing those stories, because people connect with people. And when people connect with people and see these messages lived out in their lives, our social media can really be that evangelistic tool that we want it to be. So maybe you're not going to write a 10-page story about birds at Christmas, but maybe you're going to share somebody's story with a message and a picture of them, to say, you know, so-and-so shared this story, and let it be there for folks to interact with. I noticed somebody picked up, they celebrated a milestone anniversary this year in the diocese, and they took a picture of the certificate and the gift that the diocese sent out to them this year, and just posted it on there and told about their own marriage and how blessed they were to celebrate this milestone anniversary. The interactions they got were amazing, not because of just the message, but because the message was in the context of the story, and people knew this couple and they wanted to congratulate them and be part of that story too. So when you do social media, remember, have a good message. God became like us to save us. Better, put that message in a story so that other people can relate more easily, and do it the best way you can. Have some sort of personal connection along with that story, my grandpa, or find a real one that connects with the message and the story that you wanted to share out. I'm going to kick this back to Steve. We kind of gave you tools for social media. We gave you tools for Zoom. We gave you tools for Google Meet. And now we want to show you one more fun tool that exists currently in Zoom and soon to be announced in Google Meet. It'll be, I think they have a plugin right now that they're advertising, but I think it's going to be more integrated soon. And that's called Breakout Rooms. So Steve, it's all you.
Thanks, Kate. Yes, Breakout Rooms is a great tool to create community. So when you're starting a session and you have maybe 20 people in the room, if you're doing a classroom, Breakout Rooms are the opportunity to go a little bit smaller, where you can have a little bit more of an intimate conversation, ask some pointed questions, and get some information. The host of the meeting, the Zoom meeting, has the ability to do the breakout rooms, and only the host. There are a couple ways that you could do breakout rooms. As you're scheduling your meeting, you could pre-assign breakout rooms by the list that you're going to be sending the invitation to. So if you have those people's email addresses, you can populate those and they will automatically then be taken into a breakout room. So you have the option to pre-assign and to automatically go into a breakout room, but you also have the ability to manually select people to go into a breakout room. So for instance, as we were starting this meeting, we knew that some people would be coming and maybe other people might join, and we didn't know exactly who all would be here because we gave the option that that people could share the link with others. So we didn't really know exactly how many would be here. So we really couldn't pre-assign rooms. So as we were meeting, Kate, who is the host of this meeting, has the ability to start creating breakout rooms. And she selected the breakout rooms, and she could move people around as they were arriving and things. So I was going to show a short little video, but I'm not just in the essence of time. But I want us to go into, when I say poof, Kate is going to press a button and we will go to a breakout room, and we're going to ask 2 questions in that breakout room. And the questions are basically, what's your greatest takeaway from this morning's session? And what's your lingering questions? So we're going to talk about that for a couple minutes in our breakout rooms, and then Kate's going to press another button and poof, we're going to be brought back to the big group, and we will debrief our breakout sessions. So Kate is going to poof us now.
Hi, Daria. Oops. There we go. Can everyone hear me? You can unmute yourselves for this one.
Okay, there we go.
There we go. So we don't have a lot of time, but what one of the questions that they wanted us to ask is, did you have a good takeaway from this? What was the greatest takeaway you got from this meeting today? Was there something that was really helpful for you?
So I think this, I didn't know how to do the breakout groups, and I hope that I will be able to know how to do that. So far, this is a really good thing.
Yeah, if you are the host, it's a lot easier than you think.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a great tool.
Do you have to manually assign, if you don't assign them before, do you have to manually assign them, or could they be randomly assigned?
You can click, there's 2 different options. You can randomly assign them, or you can manually assign them yourself. Or when you get into your meeting, you can actually have, especially it's easier if you have somebody working with you, you can have somebody assigning them as a co-host while this is going on. Kate went and manually assigned everybody as a co-host while Steve was doing other stuff. So
Do we have to have 2 adults in each breakout room?
if you have children in the breakout room, you must have 2 adults, and at least one must have clearances, and the other one would have to be a parent or somebody with clearances to be in that room with them.
That's a great question. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think my biggest takeaway was the polling. I had never done the polling before.
Yeah, well, I've set the polls up ahead of time that when you schedule your meetings, you can go into your list of meetings and click on it, and then at the bottom go in and say that you want to add a poll. And so I set them up ahead of time, and then Deacon Steve just had to click on them and they came up, which is really nice, because if you're doing some kind of a classroom, it's hard to do it in the middle of the classroom, like unless of course you have somebody with you, which is a co-host is always a great idea. So,
yeah, I didn't even know that was an option.
How many of you had sort of host capabilities for this meeting?
Today,
yeah.
All 5 of us on the Faith Formation team are co-hosts today.
Okay, so you have multiple people who have the ability to do what you're doing.
Right, all 5 of us were able to do everything on that you could see.
Good.
That's a nice feature. So, anybody else have something they want to? No? Okay. Well, Daria, you look like you want to talk, Daria, but you're not sure.
Yeah, well, can you hear me right now?
Yes.
Okay, anyway, yeah, no, what I liked best actually was also the use of polls as an assessment afterwards. I mean, until then I thought it was just like, you know, a fun little icebreaker or a community thing, but using it as an assessment seems like a really useful.
If you're actually teaching a class, you can do a quiz, a test like that, and
Right.
save the results. And you can make them all anonymous, like the polls today were anonymous, or you can make it so it's not anonymous and nobody will see who answered what. But when you download the poll later, it will tell you who gave you each answer. So it's a great teaching tool.
Right.
So, and at some point, while we're in these breakout rooms, a little question will pop, or a little note will pop up and say you have 60 seconds left. And then we can go back and rejoin the main room, or in 60 seconds, it will kick us out of our breakout room and back to the main room. So the host has the option of that. Like you can't take your group of kids and stay in another room for the entire time and not come back. The host has the option to bring you all back. So does anybody have any lingering questions or things that they'd like to see addressed?
No, this is just probably pretty minor, but right now as the host or the person who's speaking, their face is large on my screen, whereas earlier the person speaking stayed small just like everyone else. Did a setting change?
Up in the upper right corner, you might see something that says speaker view or gallery view. If you see gallery view, click on that and you'll go back to all of the pictures.
Oh,
there you go.
I like speaker view.
Oh, do you? Well, you can do that, and we can set that in the beginning too, so that what you're seeing while we're talking is just one speaker. But the gallery view is nice because it's nice to be able to see everybody who's online and who's sleeping and who's not. So
It is. I was thinking though, for sometimes the kids, it might be a little distracting. You know, they might, you know, I'm thinking I have middle school, so I'm thinking sometimes it would be nice just to focus on one person. So I like that there's options.
Now, did you all get a little note at the top of your screen?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say, I think when you have a really big group, it's sometimes hard to find the speaker. So that's nice to be big. I'll stop down.
Yes, I agree. You know, it could be distracting. We had one girl that she kept changing her background. You know, you can have the blue skies and a palm tree, and so she was in outer space, and then she was in you know, at the beach, and
yeah, everybody has that individual option, that you can do that, but it makes your face a little bit weird sometimes. It's not it's crisp and clear. So
yes.
Any other questions before we go back to our main session? Okay, now on the bottom right, you'll see a little button that says leave the room. You could do that at any time, but since we're all going back, we might as well you can click on that button, we'll go back to the main room. But if you had to leave the room before everybody else, it would be available. Okay?
Thank you.
Right, see you back in there.
Our group is still talking too, so.
I'm sorry.
We were more interesting.
I had a job to do, you all.
I know.
Hey, my group got to all of our Q&A, so we are like golden right now.
Oh, we did too.
Our group
We're
did
good.
too. Can Jesse or somebody turn off the spotlight view? It's on spotlight view.
I did turn off spotlight view, but if you're still only seeing one person, if you hover your mouse in the top right of your Zoom screen, you can manually go back into gallery view. But spotlight view has been turned off on the host.
Great. Got it. So we're now back into the big session. I was just saying to my group before we were leaving is that the timer is kind of nice, that you can't have one group that's lingering and still talking. You automatically just go. So so I know that some people were halfway through a sentence and here we are. So how did you find that experience using breakout rooms?
It was good.
They're very easy to use, very easy to set up. You could maneuver people. So like if you had your group set up and you thought, oh, now this person's joining, we're off. You could switch people by exchanging them very, very easily. It's just a click and drag. So this breakout is a really good tool and very easy to use. So I encourage you to use it for creating those small group opportunities for people to go into a deeper dive with sharing. All right, so then just kick it on back to Jesse for any closing announcements.
Okie doke, folks. I'm mindful of our time here. We are going to close in prayer, but just a couple of announcements. We will be emailing you sometime in the next week all of the notes from the session, including the links to all of those videos. You might have noticed that the video quality got a little grainy. I think maybe my internet feed was slow or something. So you had a hard time seeing those videos. You'll be able to watch them on your own. If you know of somebody who you think, oh my gosh, so-and-so, a leader in my program or one of our small group facilitators or a catechist could really use this content, they are welcome to join us tonight. We will be doing the same presentation at 7 o'clock. You have the link in your email from Mary Hicken. Feel free to share it with other folks that may want it. And the fun stuff. So we spent 101 and 201 talking about how do we use the technology? What's all of this breadth of functionality? How does it relate to evangelization? Why is it worth being in our discomfort zone and learning how to use it? But next week starts the really fun stuff, the application workshops. So next week is really that work of evangelization of, okay, now that I know what Zoom can do, what are the best practices for how to use Zoom or Google Meet or social media for 6 to 12-year-olds, for 13 to 18-year-olds, for 19 to 35-year-olds, and for adult faith formation. So if you haven't signed up for those specific application workshops, but now you're thinking you should, or someone you know at your parish should, again, you have those links from Mary in your email. If you lost that or you want it again, you could just email Mary Hicken. She will be glad to send those to you. So please join us next week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we have application workshops all of those days. Now let's learn how to take our new technology skills and put them to use for the goodness of the church.
Thank you, Jesse. And I'm aware of time. It's 11:30 right now. We said we'd end, so we will do we'll do our closing prayer. So we just bring ourselves here, knowing that our minds might be jumbled with all the things that we've just heard. And we know that we are surely in the presence of God, and that we are with each other, even though we might be miles apart. So in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Loving God, we thank you for this time. We thank you for our diocese and the work that is being done in our diocese. We pray especially for Bishop Persico and all that he carries. We pray for our church. We pray for our parishioners, some who still don't feel safe enough to come back to our worship services, our masses. Please be with each one of them and keep them safe. As we continue to learn and be with each other in this pandemic era, just we ask your blessings upon each one of us, that we have the patience to be with people, that we have the compassion to be with people, and that we have the ability to bring yourself to each person in our diocese. For this workshops and all that will happen today and next week, we ask your blessings. For all these things, we ask this in your most precious name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you. In some of our workshops, using your hands in a video, in a Zoom meeting or internet meeting is really important because people hands. As you notice, as people come in, they wave, and as they leave, it's always, how much do I wave? Do I keep waving and things like that? So wave as much as you want as you go off the screen. Peace, everybody.
So, and one other thing, we'll hang around a little bit for Q&A. I got a lot of tons of great questions, and I know you may have gotten them all answered in breakout sessions, but if you'd like to hang around and kind of hear what some of the other questions are, you're welcome to do that, but we totally want to honor your time and let you leave because the meeting's done. So it kind of looks like everybody's settled, and I'll read off a couple questions. We'll take some stabs at it, and this is really informal. So if you decide you want to say something, you can just pull off your mic and say what you need to say. But so one of them was, can everyone, if you have a Word document, like Jessie pulled up the Word document and she was typing, if you do that, do other people in your meeting have the ability to write on that same Word document? And the answer is yes and no. So no, they can't write on that Word document like Jesse is writing on it with text. That's part of a normal Word document. They can use the annotate function that Steve shared with us. And you do have the ability to type with that. So it would look like somebody's typing on that document, but in reality, you're not changing Jesse's document. She has full control over that document. If you want to save what other people are typing on your document, you would have to hit that save the screen share feature that was in Deacon Steve's video. So what else do you have to add?
Can I throw a monkey wrench question into that?
Mm-hmm.
So what about what if they share the document? You know, if they through a way where multiple people could write on there, right?
So yes, but if you're going to write on, so Word has a feature that in the upper corner you can share, and you can put it on the internet, and other people can have access to that document. If Jesse lets everyone on Zoom see that document and also does that sideways internet share thing with them, they can have the Word document up in a separate screen and type in it and actually make changes to that document. But they could not be in Zoom and click the screen that they see because Jesse shared it and start typing, even if the Word document itself was shared with them. That's crazy to try and explain, but if you have follow-up questions.
Good job.
Okay. Awesome. Another question was, what if I want to share a DVD video instead of like a YouTube video? Same process, something different. I'm going to stop talking because it's my voice you're hearing in the middle.
I
answered that. Oh, did you answer it too? So did I.
Yeah, I answered it for Fran in our group. So the important thing on remembering, if you're going to share a video, there's those two boxes that you check when you start beginning to share your screen. One, share computer sound, and two, optimize screen sharing for video clips. So that those two things need to be there for you, for the other people to hear and see.
I just gave all of you permission to share your screen. So what you can do right now is actually see that box. So if you go to the bottom of your screen, there's a green button that says share screen. If you just click on that, a white screen will pop up and it'll have basically a box for everything you have open right now, plus a box for the whiteboard. And at the very bottom, you should see that there are two little options. One says share computer sound.
No,
the other one says optimize screen sharing for video clip. No? Francis, did you find the green button that says share screen?
Yes, and it says photos, iCloud, Drive, website, URL, bookmark, and whiteboard underneath is what popped up.
If you, for instance, if you click one of those, you're going to then get the option to select share computer sound and optimize your screen sharing video
If I
clip.
get any of them, just hit the.
Yeah, just hit one of those.
Okay.
Do you get that screen now? Whoop, I lost you, but.
Would like to access, Zoom would like to access your photos, it says. Don't allow, though, right? I don't want to do that, or do I want to do that?
No, don't put your photos up there. Go to your whiteboard. Click on your whiteboard.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, oops.
She's so cute.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know anything about this stuff.
Yes.
Now you're sharing your screen.
Okay. Now what?
What would you like to teach us, Francis?
Okay.
Any of you right now can try the annotate too. So if you hover your mouse at the top, it'll give options. And if you,
Oops.
I'll share something so you can annotate.
I didn't see that on mine.
Okay.
Hey, that was the problem when I was sharing the screen, we were trying to practice that taskbar does not come up. So
Yeah.
when Frances just shared her whiteboard, the taskbar was not there.
Right, you have to, here, let me walk you through it.
Yeah, I don't think there was that option to do that.
Oh, did we turn that off?
Yeah, I don't think it's,
Okay.
oh, wait, got it. Got it. You just have to hit view options and then annotate.
It says, mine says you cannot start screen share while the other participant is sharing.
Yeah.
Right, I'm just sharing so other people can draw their heart stamps.
I'm doing the heart stamps.
Yay, you sure are.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. And there's also, in that video, he showed that there was an option to have the word show up next to every annotation that says who actually annotated it. So if you're doing this in a classroom and you want to deter the folks who might be a little bit silly with the annotations, it might help them to know that you could make it so that you're able to see who's annotating what. So I'm going to stop sharing now, but at least you have a little bit of a sense of what you're able to do.
We were drawing, Kate.
Yeah, I know you were drawing. That's the most fun part. Another question about why were some of the videos blurry and everything else was crisp? Really sharing video, streaming a video takes a lot of bandwidth, and then you're going to stream it again out of your computer to everybody else, and then they have to stream it in while they're streaming Zoom. So it's a bandwidth question. Videos usually come out pretty more blurry than other things that are just pictures or text. And really, if you need a clear video that your people need to say, just share the YouTube link and let them turn off their cameras and watch it, and then come back in a couple minutes. But that's why it's not that there's something wrong with your computer. It's just a bandwidth question. Anybody have something to add about that?
No, that's.
Yeah. Can you see your students when you screen share? I can keep going, but you're just hearing my voice. Team, you want to step in?
Okay, so be able to at least see everybody in that strip above. You can if you
click on the arrow.
So if you right now went into, let me give you an example here. So if you go to your upper right hand corner, you click speaker view. All right, so right now I see Deacon Steve, maybe you see me. But then, oh, dang it. I thought that it would take you back to gallery view. There's some team, do you know how, is it just in screen sharing that you can like get the box and take it out of so let's go into screen share. Let me do this. So let me screen share and just put up. Then I'll give you an example of how you can see everybody a little bit better. And this is how I screen shared. So if I'm sharing a whiteboard here, and then do some of you all have like the column at the very top end or whatever, maybe you see just one person, depends. So on either if there's a little black bar that's either on the top or depending on when you are on the side, and you can click all those grids and it can give you different things. So if you click on the one that says show grid, which is the little tiny boxes, and then you actually can expand that, click on a corner and drag it out, and then you could see everybody's faces still, you know, as you're still screen sharing. So that's a way that if you still want to see all of them at once in a kind of gallery view way, you can see that. Or as Deacon Steve was saying, if you leave it in the strip, there's usually an arrow you can click through. But if you don't want to leave, you know, up to chance, whatever one kid's doing at any given time, that's kind of what I would suggest when you're in the share mode. Kind of click the grid view, expand it out so you get to see everybody.
I always forget about that trick. So, you know, the whiteboard pops up and it takes up 75% of my screen, and I have a 25% strip for everybody's photos. But then there's a little gray line down the screen between the whiteboard and the photos that I have for folks, or the videos. And that little line is actually, if you click on it, you can drag it to the left or drag it to the right to make the whiteboard smaller or bigger. There you go. I know. So then you can see more faces that way.
Mm-hmm.
And like on my computer, I don't see the gray line right away. Like there are just these two little white lines like in the middle. They look like somebody put quotation marks there or something. But if I put my mouse over it, then the gray line shows up and I can click and slide things. Yeah.
Great tip.
Yeah. We're almost there. Two other questions. Can people chat without the host knowing? So when you set up your meeting, you have the option to let people chat only with someone who's a host or a co-host, which is how we set it up for these meetings, just for ease of access. You can also allow people to chat anyone else in the meeting. And so during the meeting, you won't know what's going on in that chat box. Like a participant can chat everyone, which is actually kind of a nice feature if you're going to share like group answers in the class and not have somebody talk. You just ask a question and then everybody types it in. You can see a big response. But if you do that, they're also going to be able to private chat each other, and you know that they will figure it out. However, there is also a cool little trick. When the meeting is over, you can download the chat and you will see every single private chat and every single public chat.
There is an option that says you can chat everyone publicly. So
okay.
You can turn off, they can't do it privately, but you can let them all chat publicly so that you'll see everything that's going on while it's going on, and nobody can go one-on-one with somebody else.
So use those options well, but then also like be aware that you can have any private chat you want at the end if you just download it. And also be aware that somebody else who's running a Zoom will know all of your private chats. So, yeah.
So they're not really private.
No.
No.
They're just like during the meeting, if I don't want to disrupt other people, I'm going to ask that.
Good. Thank
So, like,
goodness I didn't say what I was going to say about Steve.
Oh man, I know.
That's why when they learned about that I could get all of the private chats, they stopped.
Yeah, that's not true. That's funny. That's true like my grandpa. And then the last question was a really insightful one about social media and age of students on social media. So Samantha, you win for like the most thoughtful, highest quantity of questions. You're amazing. So Facebook does have a minimum age of 13. So I would not recommend using Facebook Lives for students who are under 13. A second rule of thumb for social media, whatever you're posting should be completely public. So we recommend having a parish page or a parish Facebook page that you're using to interact with everyone. When you set up that account, either on Instagram, Facebook, wherever you are, at least the USCCB rules are at least 2 adults need to have the password and all the admin privileges for that. In our experience, we found that it's probably best if your pastor plus 2 other adults have that information. It just protects you, but also there have been plenty of times when things have happened on a page that we've called each other and been like, okay, so how do we respond to this in a way that's really charitable, doesn't make it blow up, but also sets expectations for a kind and supportive environment on our Facebook. Other things I'm forgetting, guys.
I have a couple questions if.
Oh, and if students are involved on your page, I would actually manually invite parents to be participants on that page so that they're very aware and notified anytime something's happening on that page. We really want parents to be involved, especially when it comes to social media. So that kind of covers you a fair amount. And then other questions, Sue?
Sue, you had questions?
I do, 3 of them. When we went to the breakout rooms, are those recorded because this meeting's recorded?
That's a great question.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I'll have to find that out.
When we were in the breakout rooms, there's something about recording down in the corner, and you could pause the recording of your breakout room. But I don't know if it just automatically records it. And then when you play it back, would you get 3 separate breakout rooms or 4 separate breakout rooms, one after another? So I'm not really sure. But I do know there was something about recording in the corner of the breakout room.
We can watch it and get back to you with a firm answer. On that.
And then,
I hope not.
And then on the subject of the recording, the polls that you did, when you play this back, will those show up on the recording that people are watching? Like on their actual screen, the results?
Another good question.
I don't know if the polls will actually show up. We can get a report of the polls. So that's what you can do, but I don't think that the polls will actually show up in a recording going forward. But again, I'm not 100% of that. I'll have to watch that and see if that works as well.
Okay.
All right, Sue, ask us a question we might know the answer to.
Okay, you might know this one. Sorry, these are all just ones that are coming in my head.
Oh, they're great.
Good questions.
Okay, so the breakout rooms. So for us, we're going to join together K to 5, and then I have 2 catechists working, and we're going to do 3 separate rooms. Can I assign the K to 2 to a room before I actually bring them into the meeting, or do I have to have their email addresses to do that? Do you know what I'm asking? Do you understand?
To be able to pre-assign somebody to a room, you have to have their contact info. So if it's an email or something, you could name each room, K through 2, 3 through 5. You can name the pre-assigned name the rooms and slide them there, but you'll have to have their actual email address to do that, because that's how they're going to be invited to the meeting.
And so if I wait, then, which will be make the most sense, no one else, like one of the catechists, like when I'm welcoming them, we're doing an opening prayer, and then they're going to go off into their classrooms. The other catechists that are on that same would not be able to assign the breakout rooms. Because
if you gave them the hosting, so you can make them host and you can keep co-host. So the host, like I get this morning, Kate wasn't the host when we signed on, but at a certain point she became the host, so she would be able to do those breakout rooms.
So then you did not become the host. You had to give it to her. Is that what I'm understanding? Okay, perfect. Okay.
Okay, and Sue, I just looked up breakout room recordings so that you don't get just our experience based on what we may or may not have known to do. It says, if the meeting is being cloud recorded, so there are 2 options on where you can save the meeting. The first one is the cloud, the second one's the hard drive on your computer. So if it's being cloud recorded, it will only record the main room, regardless of what room the meeting the host is in. So I was left behind on the breakout sessions. I could have joined any one of them, but they were like 3 minutes long and I didn't want to disrupt. So I stayed in the main room and only that room would be recorded. If you use a local recording, so it goes straight to your computer, it'll record the room that the participant is recording in and the main room, and it'll also record the room of the host. But you can manually, a participant can record locally. So, so maybe I'm the host of the meeting and Jessie is in breakout room number 1. She can record that breakout room and we can merge the videos at the end.
So what my thought is, if a child can't be in their specific class, that could be recorded so that they can watch it later and make it up. That is a possibility. That would be
Yes, you would have to have your catechist record the room that they're in manually themselves.
And all the proper clearances and all that business.
Right, yes, yeah. I got all that from my family. I made them sign in blood. I made him sign, you know, I mean, because I just don't want to take the chance. So, okay.
Yeah,
perfect.
right, good.
Great, thank you. So
Great questions.
I told Jesse I love what you guys are doing, your new initiative. I love it. Thank you for doing that, because it's really helping. Even, I mean, I know a lot about Zoom and I have learned so much. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We learn too, so it's good for us as well.
So, okay.
Thank you guys so much. It's so nice to meet you all. You're really starting me off on the right track, and starting me out well equipped. So I know I'll be getting in touch with you though as I get going.
That's great.
Where are
We
you?
look forward to it.
Where are you
Thank
from?
you. Good job.
I'm from St. Mary's. I'm from St. Mary's. Thank you. Thank you.
Samantha, there's actually something I needed to talk to you about. So can I give you a call or shoot you an email later today? Okay, cool. I'll be in touch.
Okay, thank you. All right.
All right.